Arnett are stumbling as they chase down a playoff bye. Harbour said goodbye to 3 points thanks to Calvin, and Vere can start pack their bags and say their goodbyes to the JPL. But we start one place and one place only, and that's at the Anthony Spalding Complex, where Racing youngsters gave Mobe a good fight. This is Match Week 36 Review Show. Yes, people, welcome back to JPL Fan, and we are also back to live TV broadcasting as we got to see two enjoyable matches this past Monday night. And as promised, that's where we will begin as Racing United took on Montego United in the jungle. In terms of the starting 11 for Racing, Ronaldo Biggs continued his comeback from injury with another start. Swearing is the next goalkeeper up in goal, and Romain Bowers comes back into the team to partner Markovich Brown. As for the visitors from out west, Jordan Brito is back on the bench. Brazilian John Ferreira comes back in favour of Shea Benny, but fellow Brazilian Lucas Lima sits out and is replaced by Demaria Phillips. Now, despite giving the ball away almost immediately after kickoff, it was actually a pretty good start by the Racing team. In fact, star players Nikai Ellis seemed really motivated in the early stages and really should have put Racing up with this effort that went over the bar. But Racing definitely had their tails up, and it would be their other star man, Ronaldo Biggs, to light the place up with a thunderous free kick that Burton did well to tip over the bar. But another warning shot to Mobe that this young team isn't messing around. But while there are clear pros to fielding such a young team, there also can be some drawbacks, as we see with this play right here. With a simple ball floating in behind the Racing back line, Fletcher was on his way to goal, but then he felt a tug on his arm that sent him to the ground. It was naive defending by Bowers and his teammates, and he made the ultimate sacrifice by taking a red, but his sacrifice was in vain when referee Perry surprisingly pointed to the penalty spot when replay showed initial contact was made outside the box. Nonetheless, it was Captain Owain Gordon with a chance to give Mobe the lead, and he duly obliged, just beating Swearing to his right. 1-0 and a goal that felt it came against a run of play. Such events would cast doubt in the minds of any team after such a great start to the match, but Racing kept on running and kept on fighting with even 10 men. And while Bashko only managed to draw a smirk out of Burton with this far out shot, and Ellis' effort was also denied moments after, it was clear Mobe still won't be having things so easy for the rest of the match. There will be one more half chance for Racing before the break, but this header will float harmlessly over the bar, so 1-0 Mobe leads at the break. Second half now, and Racing wasn't done causing 1 and 2 scares to the Mobe back line. They played the ball well over the top into Mobe's box. It caused some chaos before it led to this cracking shot at the back post, but it was stopped well again by Burton in goal. Racing would keep up the pressure though and create another good chance when Cole calmly played the ball to the penalty spot for Tajay Grant, but he could not manage to get enough purchase or direction on his shot to beat Burton. Then the game went into a bit of a lull as there would be many stoppages to the game, but those breaks gave Mobe a chance to do a rethink and made some substitutions. They brought on the likes of Brian Brown, Lucas Lima and Peter Lee Vassell, who only just joined the team a few days ago. But those subs finally gave Mobe a foothold in the second half, and they took full advantage in the 83rd minute. Some silky give and go between Gordon and Phillips saw the latter got free down the left before he picked up his head and found Vassell, who hit it with a one-touch finish to double Mobe's lead and give himself a goal on his third debut for the club. 2-0 with not much left to play. That goal finally brought Racing spirits, and their constant running finally stopped, and Mobe, fully dominant at this point, would go on and find the third. A poor goal kick by Swearing sees Brown with the ball, and he found his captain Gordon in the box, whose quick thinking gave himself enough space to smash it home for another goal. 3-0, and finally Racing were down and out for the count. Referee Perry will blow his whistle not long after that, and Mobe escaped a tough encounter with all 3 points. So it was a good fight from the 10 men, but how was the match in terms of stats? Well, Racing kept up the fight with 8 attempts compared to Mobe's 9. 4 shots on target for Racing, while Mobe had 5 on target. 1 yellow card to the team wearing yellow and 3 for Mobe. And of course, 1 red card in the match, and it went to Racing. 41% possession to the Racing team and 59% to Montego United. Alright, let's start with racing first. It's easy to see why this team is so popular among the neutrals. Regardless of their circumstances, they always put in a good shift when it comes to these matches. But they are also at point a great display for the value of great experience in this league. They are learning some valuable lessons in matches like these and should make them an even more dangerous team next season. As for Montego United, it's strange that after the red card, Racing kept a narrow back three, which should play into the strengths of Mobe, but they struggle a bit to put away this Racing team. I don't think it's anything to panic about, but something to be mindful of heading into the postseason. Anyway, once again it ends Racing United 0, Montego United 3. We move on to the earlier Monday night game as relegation threatened Chapelton welcomed the visitor Mount Pleasant. Starting with the Maroons lineup, Prince Daniel Smith is back in goal, Javel Ellis is also back in favour of Rain Watson, and Ray Campbell replaces Nathaniel Howe in the team. As for the league leaders, well, it's a major change-up as Clifford Thomas, Angolia Exilios, and Johnson Judy were all given their first start in the squad, and Melvin Doxley was given a rare run-out as well. Now, to be honest, it was a very slow start to the match as the Maroons had no problem allowing Mount Pleasant with all of the ball. It took some time, but Mount Pleasant would eventually break down the Maroons for their first chance. Some good work up the middle by Judy to find Exilios in behind, but his shot was well saved and Daniel Green was unable to convert on a rebound. Judy would then be involved again, setting up his first chance in the box for Green, but the Maroons did well to deny both players. The slow nature of the match will continue until this cross by Irving, the only real trouble in anyone's box for the rest of the half. The halftime will come with both teams level. Second half now, and Mount Pleasant would end up being much better, and even though this Green effort was flagged offside, it was a sign of things to come, although they didn't expect to get any help from the Maroons. Levon Williams looked like he had no idea where to go before he coughed up possession, leading to a cross shot by Edwards that will find Exilios at the back post to tuck his home and finally give Mount Pleasant the lead. 1-0, and now the Maroons will need to come out of the defensive shell. Exactly what the league leaders would have wanted as they found more space to come forward, like on display right here where Irving got past Austin before squaring the ball to the penalty spot to find a free Edwards, who somehow skied it at close range. The Maroons, for their part, knew they need at least a point out of this match, and this powerful run and shot from Ellis almost brought them back leveled. After this, Devontae Campbell and Nicholas Nelson were brought into the match, and both would combine down the left to set up Edwards at close range, and this time he would not miss for the second goal. 2-0, and surely that was game, set and match. But Mount Pleasant weren't quite finished yet as Campbell would once again get past his defender before finding Edwards once again even closer to goal, and amazingly he missed it over the bar once again. All crazy stuff as Edwards should have had a hat-trick tonight. But thankfully it wasn't needed as Mount Pleasant would march on to yet another 3 points. So quite an easy game for Mount Pleasant. So how were the game in terms of stats? The Maroons had 5 total attempts compared to Mount Pleasant's 13, 1 shot on target for the Maroons and 5 on target for the visitors. 2 yellow cards apiece to each team but no red cards. And no surprise, Mount Pleasant dominated possession with 73%. Okay, not much to analyze here. Mount Pleasant are clearly the class of the league and got even better with the recent additions of quality players. Meaning that if you somehow find a way to stop the starting 11, they have a gazillion quality players to throw on to get the results. Real scary stuff for the rest of the league. As for the Maroons, well, they tried to contain Mount Pleasant and get a point but failed to do so, but they can't waste time sulking as massive matches against Tivoli, Vere and Cavalier remains. Anyway, for this game it ended Chapelton Maroon 0, Mount Pleasant 2. Now we move on to Clarendon where it was practically win or relegation for Vere in their match against Tivoli Gardens. In terms of the starting lineup for the home team, there was no Rabina Gordon in the squad, Kevin Atkinson is benched, but Carlton Brown makes a return in the middle of the park. As for the visitors, Nicholas Clark kept his spot in goal, Kimberly Smith was given a rare start, and starman Nikelia Fuller makes a return on the wing. Now, it was a confident start by both teams, but one could argue that Vere looks slightly the more dangerous team. they would eventually produce the first shot on target before again causing Tivoli some trouble coming from the right. Tivoli had no answers for this plan, so it was no surprise when Vere would take the lead. It all started with another square into the box from the right hand side. It made its way all the way to the back post for a waiting McGee, and the reggae boy smashed it home on the tight angle to give Vere a much deserved 1-0 lead in the 8th minute. McGee wasn't done there, as he was having himself a day, displaying one of his better performances so far this season. It took some time though, but Tivoli eventually woke up and started to win the ball closer to Vere's goal and started to have some decent possession. And they ended up making great use of all the possession in the 28th minute when some great team build-up play down the left freed up Kimberly Smith in the box, and the player did well to open up his body to slide the ball past Edwards and into the back of the net. 1-0, and Vere once again have it all to do. Now, with all that momentum, Tivoli kept coming and should have really taken the lead with this massive chance in front of goal, but the header needed to be stronger to get past Edwards in the net. While Vere, their talisman McGee, was still being a nuisance and had a great chance of their own on this play right here, but Tivoli did just enough to keep the scores level. And Tivoli would eventually end the half with the best chance of it all to take the lead thanks to some luck right here, but Vere can tap on their own luck, it flashes wide. Halftime would come with the scores level. Second half now, and again both teams were on equal footing as they both had their moments seeking the lead, but quality in the final third was surely lacking. But roughly at the 62nd minute, Tivoli again started to shade the run of play and was now producing the better chances. And of course, they would eventually tuck away one of them. From this intriguing corner, Barton Price peeled off his marker before guiding a powerful header to the back of the net. 2-1, and like the weather, things were looking grim for Vere. Credit to them, they did make a positive response to losing the lead, but despite all their best efforts, Clark was not beat again and the ref would call time on this match and perhaps time on Vere's stay in the top flight. So a tough defeat for Vere, but how was the game in terms of stats? Well, no surprise, Tivoli held more of the possession with 59%, but Vere ended up with more attempts with 12 compared to Tivoli's 8. 5 shots on target for the home team and 3 on target for the visitors. Only 39 dangerous attacks for the Phoenix, while only 40 for the men from West Kingston. Okay, I will start with Vere. They showed up today and put in a credible performance. McGee especially had one of the best games in the Vere colours, but it all came a little too late to save their season. It was fun Vere, but this is the end of the line. As for Tivoli, again not the smoothest flight, but they continue to grind out results and are fully in contention for the top 6. Still some work to do, but they continue to look hungry for some postseason action. Anyway, once again it ends. Vere Phoenix United 1, Tivoli Gardens 2. So with both Chapelton and Vere losing, Harbour has a massive opportunity to move up the ladder in their next match against Cavalier. In terms of the lineup for the Stars of the East, Romero Palmer replaces Bennett in goal, right back Akimo Jones comes in, and Ajani Talbot was also added to the starting lineup. As for the defending champions, well, there's still no Giovanni Leng in the squad. Gooden is rested for McCleary, and Kylie Avery was replaced by Jamila Writers on the wing. So it was an interesting start to this game as Cavaliers saw more of the ball and Harbour were mostly packed into their own half looking for a chance to counter. That plan didn't take long to kick into high gear as they would have sprung Trayvon Reed down the left after winning the ball, and the winger got his shot off to test Bartlett early in goal. Cavaliers still had more of the ball though, but had to wait some time for their own shot on target with this deflected effort that almost caught Portmore for a surprise. But Harbour kept their shape well and picked their moments to move up the line to create some chances at the other end. And at the 18th minute of play, they would even find the game's opener. A switching play would find Reed out on the left, who then eventually find Deon Green in the pocket. The youngster's first touch popped the ball up and he decided to try the lottery with a decent volley at goal with Bartlett already there and waiting. But shockingly, the St. Lucian mishandled the ball and he found his way in the back of the net. 1-0 to the home team, and it was yet another big goalkeeping error for the visitors. Cavalier, to their credit, did respond well, but Harbour stuck to the script and was still carving out decent chances on the counter. What would ensue next was an entertaining back and forth affair between the two teams, but Harbour would most likely felt the more frustrated as they had the better chances to double their lead. But Cavalier would end up feeling some of that frustration themselves when a cross from Waterhouse found Calvin at the back post, who then headed across the goal for Stein, who did just enough to beat power to the ball, but it just would not fall into the back of the goal. Cavalier getting closer and closer. So Harbour knew they would need a second and they would find it right before the halftime break. They would do well to break free of the initial press before playing a good pass down the centre of Cavalier defence in behind for Andre Fagan, who made no mistake and finished well past Bartlett. 2-0, and I must say, that was some truly awful defending by the visitors. The halftime break would arrive right after that. Second half now, and Cavalier would pin Harbour even further back into their own half as they seek to find the goals back. They were still finding it difficult to break down the Stars of the East, prompting Rudolph Speed to head to this bench for some reinforcements. What would happen next was some interesting tactical moves by Cavalier as Stein would come off and be replaced by San Milan, meaning Cavalier would then change their shape into a 4-4-2 diamond, pushing Atkinson and Calvin as an attacking pair up front. Thanks to this switch, Cavalier was now finding more space at the top of the 18-yard box, but Harbour was still quite comfortable in defence. Until Akima Jones decided to go on a solo run from the back before he lost it, and the counter was in the space he vacated via Atkinson, who would hold the ball long enough before finding his strike partner Calvin with a great cross. The number 7 would nod it home and finally bring a goal back for the champs. But Harbour would finally wake up in this half and try to come forward much more after that, and they even thought they'd find the killer goal from this free kick that trickled into the back of the net. But referee Hamilton spotted the ball hitting an outstretched arm en route to goal, so Cavalier were spared from danger. But they would go on to dominate the final moments of the game as they desperately seek an equalizer, but they had to wait all the way to the 6th minute in injury time. A corner came into the box but was not dealt with by the Harbour leading to another cross from the opposite wing, which caused some chaos in the box before it fell neatly for Ainsworth, who took a good low volley that was well saved by Palmer, but he could do nothing about the rebound being dispatched by Calvin. A massive goal at the death and another massive blow to Harbour survival hopes. That was the final kick of the game as it would end 2-2. So it was a great match, but how was it in terms of stats? I'm a little surprised to see Harbour with more possession right here, but not with the total shots as Cavalier dominated in that department. 4 shots on target to the home team and 6 on target to visitors. 40 dangerous attacks came from the home team and 85 came from the visitors. 2 corners to the Stars of the East and 8 corners to the Duncan Destroyers. Alright, I will begin with Harbour another credible performance here at home, but 3 points are more crucial and they let it slip away. There are some positives to take away, like scoring more than 1 goal, and as a team, they defended stoutly, well at least for 80 minutes. Let's see if they can do it again in their next match against Tivoli Gardens. As for Cavalier, at this point I feel like I'm wasting my time analysing his current team, as I expect them to be much different in the playoffs. But I will say this, those defensive and goalkeeper errors had plagued them all season long, so it might show up again in the postseason. Anyway, once again it finishes Harbour 2, Cavalier 2. So now Molynes head to Dunbeholden, the massive chance to claw themselves back into the fight for survival. Here's the lineup for Dunbeholden. Jamil Vassell is once again back in goal. Nicoy Christian also made a comeback, but DeAndre Thomas was once again rested. As for the visitors, Javon Brown returned to the middle of the park, Devon Davis is replacing Michael Graham, and Peter McGregor also returned to partner Jason Wright up front. And as usual, we don't have many footage to work with, especially at the first half, but we do have an idea of how things went thanks to on-field reports. And according to those reports, Molynes were the better team straight from kickoff. They held the ball well and eventually got the opening goal in the 8th minute. A ball was placed into Dunbeholden's box, which led to a mad scramble before Nicoshea Murray managed to find a toe onto the ball and got it into the net. 1-0 and a massive goal in the relegation dogfight. But from there, it was all Dunbeholden. They would go on to dominate not only the ball, but also the chances, getting off some solid looks at goal. but despite their best efforts, Molynes would maintain their lead heading into first half. The second half would be a much more even affair as Molynes would put up a better fight, but Dunbeholden were still the more aggressors in attack, but with the game on a knife edge, Molynes still needed a second and they would get it in the 8 minutes of injury time. With Dunbeholden pushing bodies up, Molynes lobbed a ball over the top for Graham, who raced down the left and reached the ball before Vassell, before composing himself, cut in on his right before blasting a shot near post and past the keeper. 2-0, and that's the killer blow they were searching for. So a massive result in terms of relegation, but how was the game in terms of the stats? Well, the home side edged possession with 52% compared to Molynes 48. 10 total shots from Dunbeholden and 6 from Molynes. 4 shots on target for the home side and 1 from Molynes. 57 dangerous attacks came from Dunbeholden, especially in the latter part of the first half, and 37 dangerous attacks came from Molynes United. Okay, let's start with Molynes. Again, I didn't see much of the match, but they got the job done in the end. They remain in the relegation zone for now, but with a win like this, it could lift the mood in camp and have the players start believing again. As for Dunbeholden, well, they are now in the battle for their JPL lives, and I must say, I'm in complete shock they managed to find themselves in this position. What's worse, they are not looking like they have the capabilities to stay out of trouble. So again, this match ends Dunbeholden 0, Molynes United 2. So with Molynes winning, the pressure is now back on the home Lion to get a good result away to Waterhouse. First, we start with the starting lineup for Waterhouse. Well, coach Marcel Gale only made one change from the last squad, and that's Kimani Campbell coming in for Navarra Blair. As for the Lions, Gerald Neal Jr. makes a return, DeAndre Brown gets a start, and leading goal scorer Steve Barnett misses out. Now, when the game started, Waterhouse were in full control and created some decent looks at goal. Waterhouse were definitely looking the more dangerous, but the Lions were throwing their bodies on the line for the cause. The men from Jerusalem maintained lots of possession, but apart from this effort from the free kick, they weren't really working Samuels in the Lions' goal. This pattern would continue until the home side combined well to open up the Lions' back line and created this massive opportunity in the box, but the shot dragged just wide. The Lions didn't have much chance to go forward, and when they do, they were met with some crunching tackles like this one. Elvis Wilson is rather lucky to remain on the park after that. But they did show much more purpose in the second half and finally caused the Waterhouse defense a little more trouble. But Waterhouse attack was still probing for the opening goal, and if it weren't for Gerald Neal Jr. making blocks like these, they probably would have had 3 already. And longer the half went on, the closer and closer they were becoming. While the Lions knew how valuable 3 points here would do for them and tried to catch Waterhouse out on 1 and 2 counters, but their finishing lacked precision. The two teams would keep scrapping away looking for the elusive goal until the 80th minute when a corner from the right hand side caused nothing but chaos in the Lions box before Shamari Dallas poked home a ball that just went over the line. Finally, a goal, and a very scrappy one it was, but the Jerusalem faithful would not care one bit. Molynes would go on and try their best to find the equalizer, but the final whistle eventually come with Waterhouse taking home all 3 points. So not the best looking game, but how was the game in terms of stats? No surprise, Waterhouse had more of the ball with 55%. They also had more total shots with 10. Sadly, only 2 of those were on target, while the Lions had 0 on target. But Firehouse Nation made 131 dangerous attacks compared to 100 from the Lions. 8 corners to the home team and 3 corners to the visitors. Alright, this is beginning with Waterhouse. They were left frustrated for the majority of the game, but credit to them, they kept plugging away until they find the goal and got the job done. Just 3 more games doing the very same, and they will be at another playoff party come May. As for Humble Lion, they may not have gotten the 3 points they needed, but they did their badge and fans very proud. They left everything on the line in this match, but just lost out to some bad luck and a bit of quality. Now with Molynes winning, these remaining 3 games just got a little more nervous. But for today, it ends once again, Waterhouse 1, Humble Lion 0. Now we move on to our final game where 3rd place Arnett Gardens visited 4th place Portmore United. In terms of the starting lineup for Portmore, Risu and Peck do their usual swap, Guthrie and Sunday James traded places, and Orlando Russell was back on the bench for Tej Bryan. As for the Junglers, well, no surprise, there's a change in goal as Jonathan Wall comes back in, Captain Fabian Reid was rested, and Joel Jones was left out for Shavani Willis. It was a pretty okay start by Arnett Guns, but Portmore took their time to work their way back into the match. And they should have taken the lead pretty early on if they had just gotten this header on target, but after that, it was clear Portmore's confidence was rising and they would create few more chances. But Arnett were not going to be outdone, and they too would go down to the other end and create 1 and 2 chances of their very own. As the half went on, things were looking pretty even. But Portmore would eventually knock themselves ahead on the 29th minute when Bembo got on the end of this long delivery to draw Wall into making a good save, but he then took away his own rebound for the game's opening goal. The rest of the first half after this would be a fairly open affair, but no team would go on and find another goal before the halftime break. Second half, and Portmore would start the stronger as they went hunting for their second goal, but eventually the Junglers would find back their feet and conjure up some decent chances. And eventually pressure would burst pipe as they would go on with a penalty after this tackle in the box. The league's deadliest striker Warner Brown would take and dispatch the penalty to bring the Junglers level in the 61st minute. But only a few seconds later, Ronaldo Robinson took the ball here on the left hand side and did this. Bang! What a goal from the former Harbour View man, and he's starting to create a reputation for scoring long-range crackers like these. And the Sun City boys almost doubled their lead moments later with another long-range effort, but this time, Wall managed to get 2 hands on it and get the ball out for safety. But Portmore were really looking like the best they have been for some time. But Arnett aren't a third-place team for nothing and roared back in the game's final 15 minutes and created numerous chances to find an equalizer, but the time would slip away before they could do so, and all 3 points would go to Portmore United. So a decent game, but how was the game in terms of stats? Well, both teams were dead even 50-50 on possession, but Arnett outshot Portmore 9-7. 3 on target for the home team and 6 on target for the visitors. 50 dangerous attacks for Portmore, while 82 dangerous attacks for the Junglers. So Portmore displayed one of their better showings this season and got sweet revenge after losing to the Junglers on this ground back in November. I still want them to be a little more clinical in the final third, but with their defense, they will pose problems in the playoffs. As for the Junglers, well, they are stumbling at the worst time and may see that second place slip away if they continue to play like this. They have 4 games left to fix it all. So it was a wonderful and fun match week 36. Let's turn our attention now to the league's table. Well, Mount Pleasant are the clear leaders, of course, with 81 points from 34 games played. Mobay solidifies second place with 72 points. Arnett are still in third with 67 points. Portmore are officially a playoff team now with 63 points from 36 matches played. Cavalier might do so with a win themselves with 57 points from 34 games. Waterhouse hold on tightly for the 6th spot at the moment with 52 points. Tivoli are right there though with 51 points. Racing are not out of it yet with 48 points. Then it's a mad scramble for the race for survival. Harbour View are currently in 9th with 33 points. So too are Chapelton Maroons with 33 points in 10. Dunbeholden slip all the way to 11th with 33 points as well. And Molynes right behind all of them with 32 points. The same amount as Molynes United with 32 points. And Vere Phoenix United not officially relegated yet, but surely it's just a matter of time. But anyway guys, that is the Match Week 36 review show. Thank you all for watching, and please like, subscribe and share as we look to keep you all up to date on everything in the JPL leading up to the final in May. Otherwise, with great JPL content, you're already at the right place, JPL Fan. YouTube, big up yourself.